Hi, welcome back to Talking Shop in the Shop. I am Frank Gucciardo, your host here today, Executive Director at OrderPlans.com, a division of PKAD Architecture and Design. And today on the episode, we have Jamie Gallagher with Fairway Mortgage, and we're grateful to have you back. I know you sat in on the round table where we were sort of talking about, in past episode, talking about the real estate transaction space and what does that look like. We've been trying to drill down now a little bit to help homeowners and investors and maybe brokers and realtors that are around this real estate space, right? Because we talk about it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's grabbing the animal a little bit different, right? The animal being the real estate market. Someone grabs it by the tail, another guy grabs it by the tusk, another guy grabs it by the nose, and everyone's describing it a little bit differently, but we're all sort of grabbing the same elephant.
Yeah.
And so it's great to have...
great to be here again, Frank.
Yeah.
Always a privilege and a pleasure.
Great. So tell me, Jamie, you've been at this for a while,
Yep.
right?
So 23 years in the industry, big component in renovation and making this type of product happen for about the last 10 or 11 years.
Gotcha. So, and this product being a
renovation loan where allows a homeowner or a buyer to finance a project on plans and future value of the house. In other words, you have a house, but it's going to become a different kind of house, and we will lend you money based on as if this future house is completed. And your project then gets funded based on those plans.
So the value of the future home is what's
considered.
Is what's considered, not what it is today.
Not what it is. We look at where it is today because we want to know what their market
where your baseline
today,
is, yeah.
and then where it's going to be. But the financing becomes possible because it's based on the future value of this. It's called as completed. In other words, we're pretending if it's completed today, and we're basing that on plans that come from an architect, a contractor bid that shows how we're going to build that house.
This is going to happen, and then so the bank looks at the asset as a future value asset.
Correct. And then we take other homes in that neighborhood that are built up just like the one that we're proposing, and that's how we derive values, and that's how the project moves forward.
Oh, interesting. So it gives another avenue of capital resource to a homeowner that may not be able to or doesn't want to self-fund.
Yeah. I mean, the market, the types of people that are interested in this, okay, are homeowners that, with shrinking inventory, especially here in the Northeast. Other parts of the country aren't facing shrinking inventory as much. They have built large tracts of land. Anybody in the Northeast, there's metropolitan area, there's not large chunks of land where builders can just go build and then sell homes. So a lot of people are like, I like my neighborhood. I like my school district that I'm in. I love it. There's not a lot out there to go buy. Why don't we just stay? Why don't we talk to a qualified builder? Why don't we work with an architect? Why don't we stay where we are and make this house what we really want it to be? Wow.
Right. Great. So it offers some flexibility. And maybe talk about what does the process look like?
Sure. There's a couple different people besides just a homeowner that are interested in this, Frank, and you probably know this. There are investors, but people that, build maybe one home at a time, and this product is available to an investor to do that project, build it, sell it, and then move on.
So a turn and flip guy.
Yeah. So turn and flip. There's one specific product. Parts of the mortgage lending industry don't want to be involved in that, but one of the great products out there allows for that. And then real estate brokers and realtors. You're trying to sell homes in your town, and a lot of people get turned off by we call them a granny house.
Sure.
A house that's been run down, and everybody thinks that only a builder could buy it all cash, or somebody that has all cash. We'll take that ugly duckling and we'll make it into something beautiful.
I have a colleague of mine. He bought a 1961 built ranch in Bellport. Original owners had 1961 finishes still in it, and he was uncovering the septic system, and literally it collapsed as they were taking the sledgehammers away from the walkway that was poured over it. As he was trying to get under the, to go through a little bit of discovery, the whole darn thing just went boom, collapsed. And I said, "Oh my God, Frank, did anyone get hurt? Like, did someone? You could die."
Yes.
And that septic tank was it has seen its fair use. Yeah.
Less legs.
Yeah.
Less legs.
So you're saying that
So back to people that are interested
that want to buy that house
and what this looks like.
Right.
We try to uncomplicate it. You're really just getting a loan. You're getting a loan to buy the house as it is, and you're getting this little extra piece of renovation. So you close on the ability to buy the house, and then we put a large chunk of money on the side, and needs to be done with a reputable builder that's vetted, with a resume and insurance and all that stuff. The money gets put aside. Projects usually are a maximum of about 6 months. Governments and banks don't want to get involved in loans longer than that. Sizable projects should be delivered in that period of time. The funds get put aside, and just like any normal, there's, we call them drafts on payment, usually maybe 5, a maximum of 5 in a transaction.
Right.
Sometimes it's 2 or 3 if it's a smaller transaction. Typically, demolition, then enclosing the house.
Yep.
All those things that builders are better at talking about than I am.
Right. The envelope gets put in place. The rough-ins happen. Right.
Then rough plumbing and electrical.
Yep.
Finished plumbing and electrical. Spackle,
close
tape, and
up,
paint, and
boom.
then you have a house that's done.
And you get a CO. Now, talk about that. Do you require a CO at the end of this for this to close out, or what does that look like?
To close out the project, yes, a CO is required.
So you need a CO.
So you need a CO to finish that up, and
because I can't tell you how many times people want to just skirt that piece because they want to save on taxes or whatever they're going to do.
Not a piece in a renovation lender. They want to know that, God forbid, you want to sell tomorrow, that home can be sold
clean
and it's ready to go.
Right. Because we both know, right, what happens when you want to write paper on a house and there's violations on it, or the transaction gets gummed up, title comes back, and there's an open CO here, an open building permit here, or whatever has to happen, and now everyone's scrambling at the last minute. So
yeah, we see it all the time. We're helping people buy homes. They're buying from people that didn't do it right.
Right.
That's really how we met.
Yeah.
You're always putting out fires. Oh, I don't have a CO. Oh, I didn't know that porch that we did in '78 wasn't closed out properly.
But I bought it like this.
Yeah. So
Right.
there are things like that where the homeowner, is held to a little bit of a higher standard.
Right.
We want the job
done.
But
it's a good thing.
It's the right.
It's a good. This is your most valuable asset. Treat it as such. Yeah. Treat it as such, right? So, but let's just dial back for a second to the realtors, because I thought that was an interesting piece, right? So listings are tough.
Yeah, listings are tough. There's not a lot of homes, but realtors, this is a niche industry. If you take 100 people that write renovation loans, maybe 1 or 2 of them know how to write them well. Okay, we really focus on. We have just a complete division, strictly focused on administering and managing the renovation project process. And we keep, in 9 times out of 10 cases, we don't a lot of lenders put the money with another lender for the renovation. We have a person that starts out with me in the beginning and finishes it out. I might not be talking to you, but they're talking to your builder, and they're an employee of our bank.
Gotcha.
Making sure that communication and smoothness.
Gotcha. So you're saying that this is a niche space and it's not written well. If you were talking to the broker, the realtor, the homeowner, what kind of questions should they be asking to know that, whether it's you or a competitor that is living in the niche, right? Because I know about the niche. And usually the guys in the niche have some characteristic qualities and services that others that are maybe more general practitioners don't. So how would they identify?
Well, I don't really want to make it bigger than it is.
Yeah.
It's 2 major federally guideline programs.
Gotcha.
And it's just a matter of whether or not you really want to dig in and understand how that can service a potential client or help a realtor sell a dilapidated home in their neighborhood, where instead of waiting for a cash buyer and waiting for that right person, you can market it to a couple that wants to live in that town and wants to be. So
a realtor could market this and say that there's a federal regulated program that will assist with the purchase and then a dollar amount on the future value.
Correct.
That's great.
So it releases. It's like having when people come to us and say, all right, I have this pool of money that I can use for my contract, and I'm trying to stuff my project inside that number, we show them that we can either work within those parameters, or we can make available for what could be the right project, a larger project, or give them flexibility if they want to make changes.
And it might be that someone moves into the house, settles, drops their bags, get rid of the boxes so that it doesn't look like the end of Indiana Jones. Right? And now they're in and they're kind of settled, and then now they kind of catch their wind and say, okay, now, we got to reside this thing. And I've had to reside my place for as long as I've owned it, It's like the last thing is a racky envelope. But someone moving in, they have their list of what has to happen. And they can come in and transact. And I think that's great.
And the process, the real process is, so let's say somebody wants to explore this. It's really, 10 or 15 minutes just talking about the dream, because that's really what it is.
Yep.
Is this even in our, our scope of opportunity?
Yep.
And then it's not different than any other mortgage. It's
interesting.
There's three things that you qualify on a mortgage. It's your credit. It's the income that you have coming into the household, whether or not you're using or you'd like to use any of your own money for the project. I don't have to fund the entire project. You can fund a portion of it.
Yeah.
You can fund 80% of it. You can come to me for a much smaller number. Whatever you want to do. Let's learn about what you want to do.
Gotcha. And when we were talking about this earlier, you said there's a difference between a construction loan and a renovation loan.
Yeah.
So it sounds like that's probably a pretty easy thing to flip-flop, but they sound like they're different.
Everybody calls it a construction loan.
Okay.
Because you're getting a loan to construct a house.
Right.
But really, a construction loan is a loan where you have a lot of land, okay? And
undeveloped,
okay? And you might want to acquire the lot and do the build. So renovation loans will not help you acquire a lot. If you already have the lot, and you at least have to have a foundation on it.
A foundation.
A renovation. None of the, nationally recognized loan programs, the ones that are connected to FHA and Fannie Mae, those are institutions you've heard about.
Yep. That
really support the mortgage industry and the delivery of mortgages across the United States. They want a foundation there. They want a house already there. They don't want to get involved in spec building and contractors. They're here to serve the homeowner and build neighborhoods and towns across the United States.
So if someone wants to rip the house down and replace it,
they can rip it down to the foundation. They've got to keep a portion of the foundation.
So they can get pretty close to a custom build.
You can get close to brand new.
Yeah. Right. So part of the foundation has to stay. You can raise it to the ground.
You can bring it right down to the foundation.
And then add on to it if you were going to put a 15 or 2,000 square foot addition on, and then you can jazz it up however you like. If that's what you want.
If that's what you're interested in doing.
Gotcha. So
projects can be as small as 35,000.
Oh yeah, that was my next question. Yeah.
As small as 35,000, and up to the 7, 8, 9. Depending on.
So there's a big flexibility here.
A lot of flexibility.
Big flexibility.
And I use those numbers if you're watching this from Oklahoma and somehow you catch this podcast.
Yeah.
There are loan limit constraints across the United States. So
you live in a very regulated.
We live in we just live in what's called the high cost area. So
right.
New York, Hawaii, Alaska, California, high cost areas, they allow you to borrow a little more loan because the land here is just much more expensive.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Yeah, they're not making more land.
No.
And Long Island, it's amazing what's packed in here.
Yeah, I laugh as a kid from the boroughs. The city is just expanding. You're seeing that there's going to be
the density of people.
There's no more rough neighborhoods in New York, or what you considered in the 70s to be a rough neighborhood. It's all becoming highly developed and quite expensive.
I have an aunt who worked at Riverhead Hospital in the 70s, and they would tell the story of how my grandfather would drive her out through the wilderness of Long Island.
Yes,
the wilderness of Long Island. And my father would tell me about, my grandfather getting off the TWA plane at MacArthur when there was chickens running across the road, the runway, and it was dirt, and just,
Yeah.
I remember when they had the concrete factory on Sunrise Highway in Oakdale, and they were eminent domain, and they were spreading Sunrise out through Sayville and further out, and they were building all that stuff, and I mean, even here, I'm looking at Main Street.
I mean,
Bayshore didn't look like this when I was growing up.
No,
It has
hot little
revamped.
Hot little town.
Yeah, Patchogue, same thing. It's great. It's great to see. It's great to see that, and then we're here in Salt and Barrel, right? And, it's family, you get family taste. You get small business that,
And this is where we do our work. These are the families you're helping.
That's right. That's right.
It builds the fabric of the communities,
That's right. That's right. That's right. So I think that's great. I think, we touched on the homeowners. We spoke to the realtors. I mean, do the realtors really get this piece? Are they taking advantage of it?
So realtors are tough because realtors, they'd really like to sell and move on. Some of the older realtors have a good network of builders where they have people they can call and say, hey, I've got a dilapidated house. It could be worth you looking at. And maybe they swoop in with cash.
Right.
But
it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't have to be that way.
Because the market's, the inventory is light, my understanding is.
It's very light.
So everyone has to be very creative, which is a good thing. And that's the beauty of the American system is everyone's always working to
make it a little better.
Make it a little better. And if you make the better mousetrap, and at the end, it's the end user that benefits from the creative mind of that business owner that is trying to provide for their family, and in order to do that, they provide value that's exchanged for dollar.
Well, I mean, the comment with realtors is when you take a couple, young couple, middle-aged couple, older couple, and you put them in what was once a dilapidated house in the town that they maybe always wanted to get into, and then turned it into, and then they moved in and it became turnkey. People, friends, family members are usually astounded. How'd you get this done? Who did this in the mortgage industry? Because it is still a niche.
Sure.
And they tell all their neighbors about you, and they say, "Look what we did here." And it's a great.
That's long ball thinking.
Great longevity for the
realtor. That's long ball thinking. Yeah. If you're a local realtor and you specialize in,
we're not selling you just a house.
Right.
We can do lots of.
We could turn this thing and give you a great experience, and then everybody's chatting.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's great. So, there's a lot of meat on the bone here.
Yeah.
There's a lot of meat on the bone. I hope some of the realtors out there, brokers, maybe think about this. You give Jamie a call, pick your brain. But it doesn't just happen. It doesn't just end with the money. You've got to get to the designer. You got to get to the, you got to get to the architect. You got to get to the builder, and everything else that comes along with that. And that's a process. And that, we've got some episodes that are kind of covering all of that in this series. It's a little mini series here. We've had Ben Contractor out of Freeport on, and you can tune into those episodes and grab a little bit, or maybe you're a little bit before and you're in that real estate transaction you're about to purchase. Go back into past episodes, and we had that great episode where we had that sort of that real estate power group from the home inspector to the lawyer to the.
And we're all independent people. We're just working together with other like-minded people.
That's right.
Who are independent owners and doing their thing, but it's almost like a little kind of like marriage where you can work well together and deliver to the client.
That's right. And that's really what this is all about is being able to make a difference. Of course, you can have good information, and when you have good information, then decision making is easy. So with that, thanks for spending your time, Jamie. Thanks for coming in, and we'll see you the next time talking shop in the shop.